We are watching Eli's underwater backstroke commentary by Coach Chris. The last video timed out and there was a weird error where it stayed on a single frame, so we're reviewing this. I appreciate your patience in bringing it to my attention. Hopefully this one works a little bit better. So let's go ahead and pan back a few frames and just take a look. Now his head position here is pretty solid. We can see the C and the S in the water. That's pretty much what I like to see as far as the head position. Right in the middle of the crown of the head. And this is the first thing that we talked about on the other video. Feel free to review it. If not, just check this one out. He's doing a pretty good job of getting his hand fairly deep compared to the athletes his age. What I would like to see is a little bit more on his side, because if you look at the relationship in this frame, his shoulders up high, he's still mostly on his back. You can see his chest right here, and his hands out to the side, and he's got a very slight bend to his elbow, and this is going to be kind of difficult for him to generate a lot of power because his hand's going to be reaching far out. It's going to be a long lever, and that puts a lot of strain on the shoulder. What I'd like to see is this shoulder and chest rolled down deeper. If we can get that shoulder another 2 inches down, right about there, what we're going to have is we're going to have the hand get another 2 inches down too, which gives us a little bit deeper catch and a more natural position to pull from. Right now, if you look at the alignment of his arm, he's reaching out to the side almost behind his body. If he can just roll this shoulder deeper, his hand in relation to his body will be more in front of his chest. So it's more of a wide push-up position than a behind the back position. And so this is kind of a low power position for a swimmer because he's not really able to utilize his chest muscles to pull the water. He's really stretched out there. So just try and get that shoulder that's under the water down. When he raises the shoulder above the water, it should push the other shoulder deeper. That'll add a lot to that power. So here we're going to get a better view. And he's doing a decent job. You can tell by the water. When you get a better look at it from this angle, he's a little shallow, and that's part of what we were talking about as far as getting that shoulder deeper. But he's pulling, at least initially, straight across. You can tell by this bubble trail here. And that's good, because you want to pull the direction you want to go. You don't want to pull or push yourself down like most kids will push themselves down. And we can see a little bit of a finish down as we take a look. He's caught, and he's pushing. And as he finishes his stroke, look, the direction finishes in the bottom direction. So he's pushing down this way. Okay, and what he wants to do is pull back towards his leg. So he's trying to finish this direction. I tell kids when they're pushing through, they want to pull the water and then push the water so that you're reaching down towards your knee. And really what I'm just seeing, looking from this frame, is he has a, as we frame back, he's got a good, at the top of his stroke, a good pull that's going this way. But then once he gets to about halfway, he turns the hands down, and now he's pushing that way. So really, instead of pushing down towards the bottom, he just needs to follow through and push down towards his hip, down towards his knee, and just basically straight back. That'll drive him forward a little better. So he's getting decent power from the first half of the pull, but that bottom half, which is the power phase, he's not getting quite as much as he can. And it's all because he's pushing down instead of backwards. And he's kind of pushing away from his body too. You can see this angle. This hand, when he finishes pulling, should be right here. should be right here at the base of his leg, you know, pulled real tight into his body. If you look at his hand now, it's out. I mean, there's a pretty wide angle here between his body and arm. So he's actually pushing like away from his body instead of down his body. Think about pulling on the rope. That's a good way to simulate a good pull. Like pulling on the rope, you grab it, and if you pull yourself, you're pushing constantly in the same direction as the rope. That's the way you want to pull the water and push the water when you're swimming. Going into the turn. Again, we got our arms out to the side. We talk about this with our flip turns all the time. He's doing the circus acrobat flip. Arms out real wide. Don't have to do all that motion to do a flip turn. You know, when you take that last stroke, let's go back a little bit. When you take that last stroke, just get your hands to your side and flip. Keep your hands at your side. Pull them towards your face in tight, like you're splashing yourself in the face. And then when you go to push off, just raise your hand. Just raise your hands. Just like that. I mean, you got this part good. But instead of circling the arms around, just, you know, bring the hands in that position while you're flipping. Kick out's good, but you can see all this space here between the hands and the head, and the hands are side by side. You got to get a proper streamline. I mean, the streamline's one of the most critical techniques in here, and generally with the boys, this tends to be pretty common. You've got a lot of space between. You can see right here, a lot of space between the, you know, head and neck and the arms. It's just not tight. It's loose. And all the water's doing is finding each and one of those little holes and crevices, and it's just grabbing onto you and slowing you down. So you're not getting as far. Now this is an improper breakout. You know, when you break out on backstroke, do not do a double arm pull. It's a single arm pull. You're just pulling one arm. Pick one or the other, and you should be pulling, you know, one arm down to your side as you break out, and keep the other one above your head so you're already in that alternating position. The double arm pull is not faster, it's actually slower. And if you do that while you're still submerged, it's going to be called a pull out and you're going to be DQ'd. You know, and initially he's getting somewhat deep, but I mean, you can tell, you know, he's just keeping the arm way too far to the outside. I mean, look at how far out he's reaching on that hand. Just way too far out there. If he could roll this shoulder deeper, what he'd be looking to get is a much deeper pull. You'd look like a, you'd have the shoulder down here, elbow, hand, you know, something like that. So like a, you know, 2 or 3 inches deeper on the elbow, on the shoulder will get the elbow and arm deeper, and you could get a closer into the body pull. But right now it's more of a sweep around. I mean, you watch his pull. You know, if we do a top-down perspective, again, I'm drawing with a mouse, so this isn't the best art. You know, we have the top down, the head at the top there, the stick at the bottom is just his legs and hips and everything. You know, when he enters, he's entering about here, which is good, but then he's pulling out and around and up. So his pull underwater looks like that because he's keeping the arm too straight. So what we want to do, and we'll look on the other side of the body, you know, we want our hand to come in just like it's coming in, except we're going to pull pretty much straight. You know, and you're going to bend the elbow in that in order to pull down that line, and you want to keep the hand straight up and down so you're catching that water. But you don't want to sweep out, push out and away from you and then bring your hand back in. It's a lot of movement that's not contributing to forward progress. So this sweeping around type of thing with a backstroke, that's something to fix. And part of it is because you're trying to get the hand deep and not rolling the shoulder down deep enough. The bottom shoulder needs to get deeper, and you'll be able to get in a better position. You know, and what we talked about on the other video, if you watch the hips, not a lot of hip turn, which is also keeping the shoulder still. And you can see all this space basically between his hips and the surface. You know, his head position's good, chest position's good, but he's just kicking too wide. You watch this kick. You can see how wide he's getting. I mean, part of the problem's right here. This is a freestyle kick. I mean, this is a sprint-free kick with that sort of width. It's not conducive of backstroke. Backstroke, you want the hips to be able to rotate with the body. So you want to have about to here. You want to have a much tighter kick, and that'll allow him to free up his hips and get more rotation of the hips into a stroke. If his hips can turn, his shoulder can get deeper. So a lot of this issue with the shoulder isn't just driving it down, it's also shrinking that kick up. Think backstroke is a real tight, narrow kick. You know, distance freestyle, real tight, narrow, fast kick. Freestyle sprint, wide kick, just like you see right here in the backstroke. And that creates a much more stable base for you to create a lot of torque with the shoulders, but it's not very conducive to swimming on your back. So shrink that kick up. That'll be that'll make a huge difference in that backstroke. You know, tighten up the streamline, keep working on developing those underwaters. You know, head position is good though. I really like it. You can see here, you got the S and the P in the water. That's excellent. So just a lot of minor fixes, but I don't see anything overly major. Just got to shrink the kick and try and get more body roll into it, and I think that'll help with a lot of the power issues with that pull. So, excellent job.